Blessed to be a part of your day. Thank you all for listening. We so appreciate it. Please let your friends know. Share. Tell a friend. We love to expand the audience here at KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM on God and Country Day. We will be in Nampa, Idaho tonight. We will have the official music for God and Country during the fireworks. We are very excited to be the official station for God and Country. And that is tonight in Nampa, Idaho, the Idaho Center. It is free. Looking forward to seeing you there. And if you see me looking my usual disheveled, please stop by and say hello. Can't wait to talk to you tonight. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. R&R and Liberty Linda, hang on. First, we go to Dan Gaynor joining us from the Media Research Center, Newsbusters, and just about every platform that holds the mainstream media accountable. Dan, good morning.
Good morning to you. Do you have to license with God to get that God and Country lesson? And how do you go about that? I mean,
only in Idaho, and we've had it for 52 years. Chuck Connors, the rifleman, started it here 52 years ago.
Oh, you're kidding. That's very cool. I was a big fan of the show back in the day.
Well, he wanted something that would stand up for God and country, and we need that now more than ever. And, Dan, let's go back to the quaint days of the Media Research Center. When the summer was really the doldrums, it was the dead time. There wasn't a lot going on. We can't say that about the times we live in today.
I'm constantly reminded of the Chinese curse about living in interesting times. Times are too interesting. I am hopeful that God and Country will hold sway next week during 4th of July week, and that people will be able to take a time out and maybe calm the bloody heck down. But I don't see it. If you look, it's not like this is new, and I do want to remind people who are young that our nation has been at odds different times throughout its history, and even in my lifetime. I mean, yes, things are uniquely bad now because we never had social media tearing us apart. But the 1960s were pretty bad. We had riots. We had a very unpopular war. We had not one, not two, but three separate prominent political assassinations, cities burning, presidential election riot convention. My own father had to carry a gun. He was a firefighter, and he had to carry a gun going to put out fires. In fact, because the fire department was very integrated at the time, black and white firefighters had to carry guns because the rioters were targeting both. You were seen as the man if you were a firefighter putting out the fires that they were starting. So yes, it may seem worse because we're constantly bombarded by the negativity, but it's really been worse not that long ago. And I think that's not to encourage people to try to outdo themselves, nor is okay, let's not go there.
You're right, and you bring up a welcomed historical perspective because we live in hysteria these days. When you go back to the 60s and the riots and everything else, it pales, I hope, in comparison to this. What do you make, and I'm monitoring a lot of things, Dan, as you do, nowhere near what the Media Research Center does, but you have people on some of the networks yelling truth to power, progressive stand up, it's okay to hassle people, whether you're Stephen Miller, Sarah Sanders, or anyone else. And, Dan, your reaction to that, truth to power.
Well, first of all, I think hysteria is just a little west of the Treasure Valley, somewhere on the West Coast. The people who are claiming they're pushing truth to power are the same people who put out a wanted poster yesterday for Stephen Miller that's circulating around the district. It got posted online. One of the people I'm friends with posted it because once she saw it online, she didn't want to hide it so that the right could see what was going on. The left wants to, and I'm going to use a clear word here because it means something, terrorize their political opponents. They are taking the wrong pages out of the history book. They are taking the pages from the 1930s and people who wore brown shirts, who went around beating and intimidating, harassing their political opponents into silence, figuring that would work. and they think it will work here. And in that way, they have wildly underestimated the American public and wildly underestimated conservatives particularly. But when I say underestimated the American public, is the more you do stuff like this, I frankly think not only do you unify the Republican base, but I think you chase a lot of independent, even some Democrat voters out of the coalition. But this is where the left is. You look at the people who are the leading supporters of liberal thought now, and the leading ones who are supported, and that is people like Bernie Sanders, who's a socialist, people like Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, who are just, and Maxine Waters, who are just whack job liberals. And this is who the left and the media are celebrating. And then they wonder why that people are not thrilled with this. I will not. This is probably a better way. I put up with Obama was left wing, but he was not a dyed-in-the-wool socialist who's going to ram socialism down on me. He's not somebody who basically went and had his honeymoon in the Soviet Union, as Bernie Sanders did. And I'm sorry, but there comes a time, the left can run around for decades saying this person's not my president. Yep, that's going to be my turn if things go that far. Not my president. But the media are bombarding us with this stuff, and then they blame Trump. And let's do another quick history lesson and go back to the election campaign. Yes, Trump said some things during the campaign when he was at campaign events that he shouldn't have. Now let's about roughing up people who were paid disruptors of his events. But let's also unpack that. He had one liberal who tried to charge the stage and attack him. He had another who tried to assassinate him, although the media buried the story. One guy tried to steal a gun from a police officer to shoot Trump. Said it. He ended up getting deported because he was, I think, from the UK. Then you had paid professional protesters showing up at Trump events to disrupt it, going into the event, buying tickets from people who wanted to attend, basically already taking their spots, and then going disrupting. They succeeded in Chicago, where they actually shut down a Trump event. This is what's known in the popular political science trade as the heckler's veto. And that means where somebody, no matter how stupid your opposition is to something, you get to shout and shut down the other people from talking. Again, this is a classic brown shirt tactic. And so when Trump overreacted, and I would agree he did, that was the context. Now let's fast forward here to what the left is calling for, genuinely harassing and intimidating people, if you support the present government. Well, the present government, I know this is going to shock the left, is the present government is the government for all the people. Then you turn on, pick up a website, go to something called Splinter News. Splinter News is the whack job's whack job. Scarily enough, though, it is run by Univision, which is owned by one of the top Hillary Clinton donors, Haim Saban. Here's the headline today. This is just the beginning. And it's got an image that comes from the Disrupt J20 riots during the Trump inauguration. And, I have to be careful what I read here out loud because there's a lot of naughty words. And so basically he says, when you aggressively, I'll just say mess with people's lives, you should not be surprised when they decide to mess with yours. Stop working for this man. Stop enabling him. Stop assisting him. Start fighting him. The people who are responsible for what is happening are not going to get out of this with their happy, wealthy, respectable lives unscathed. Now, the ones who make the laws are not going to like what happens when America starts to regard them as criminals. So this is the left basically saying, if you support Trump, you're a criminal. And we saw it, on MSNBC. If you support Trump, you're a racist, you're a Nazi, this is the repeated drumbeat. If you vote for Trump, you're evil. Well, when in history have we seen people demonized for their political beliefs and for their personal beliefs, and bad things happen to them. Every time this happens in history, it goes bad. And if you look at places where the left has taken over throughout history, it always goes bad. Venezuela, Cuba, China, Russia, East Germany. I could go on the list. Cambodia. China alone is the story the media don't want to tell you, because it was a cultural revolution where they went around, and this will sound very familiar, tore down statues, changed names, and then the third part that they haven't gotten to yet, killed people. If you represent the old guard, we're just going to get rid of you.
And whoever would have thought that this is happening in America, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, our great friend Dan Gaynor joining us from Newsbusters Media Research Center. It does, we're living in a totalitarian state. You know these folks. What do you make? Stephen Miller with the wanted poster, Sarah Sanders asked to leave a restaurant, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, bullied at a Mexican restaurant, the Florida Attorney General heckled at a movie theater. The left has ratcheted this up. We've seen them go after prominent folks on the right, whether it was Bill O'Reilly, whether it was Sean Hannity, whether it was others at a local level, going after their sponsors and stuff. Now, it seems that if you have any type of dissent, the left will not tolerate it. And what's the word for this, Dan?
Well, the word for this, I think, is, since they haven't succeeded yet, I guess it's two words. It's attempted tyranny. It's not tyranny because they haven't succeeded yet. And you'll find reporters say, well, look, I get death threats too, or conservatives get them, liberals get them. Pretty much in the political world, you're getting them now. I've gotten threats. I even called the police on one threat recently. That happens, but part of it is because a lot of the people doing these threats are outside, and I mean outside the U.S., outside agitators. That's part of it. But when a member of Congress basically says, we should harass the people who disagree with me and harass them in their homes, and Kristen Nielsen is being harassed in her home, harass them in restaurants, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Nielsen and Stephen Miller have been harassed in restaurants. And, you just go down the line, putting up a wanted poster of Stephen Miller, that there's only one response to that. And what's going to happen is sooner or later, and I don't actually know on which side, but someone's going to get seriously hurt. And I'm not just talking about what happened with Steve Scalise and others at the congressional shooting. I'm talking about a flat out where you've got one of these lefty protests hanging around some conservative Republican's home, or confront them in a restaurant, an event, and there's going to be pushing and shoving. And I don't know if it's going to be Secret Service who are going to draw down at somebody, but somebody's going to get shot or somebody's going to get killed. And then everybody's going to point fingers, and nobody's going to take blame. And when it happens, my only hope is, because I don't see how it's not going to happen. My only hope is that maybe everybody steps back from the cliff and say, well, we don't want this. My big fear is that there are probably some people on both sides who do.
Dan Gaynor joining us, Kevin Miller here at KIDO Talk Radio. Dan, we'll get you out on this one. Back to Maxine Waters. She's not...
what a good way to end the discussion.
Right. You don't really have to say anything else, just Maxine Waters.
Well, this is stupidity to the max. There's nobody in Washington who thinks of Maxine Waters as anything other than an uninformed lunatic goofball. And there's a political term for her. She's a backbencher. She doesn't create legislation that has any impact. She's not taken seriously. The press only put her out there because she makes good copy. She is a walking, talking version of what's called clickbait on Twitter and social media. And that means she says stupid stuff and makes headlines, and people, oh my gosh, well, it's bad that on one hand the Democrats won't really go after her, and on the other hand the press won't go after the Democrats and say, where do you stand on what she said? You won't see all the prospective Democratic presidential candidates be forced to answer for what Maxine Waters said. Oh, well, I agree. Oh, I disagree. Well, pick one. Go public with it. And then if something happens, you're on the hook for that. But they won't do it. So the problem of loose cannon idiots like Maxine Waters is that the press will not hold that side accountable. But if she had a R after her name, I guarantee you the Republicans would be made to be held accountable.
Dan Gaynor, we appreciate you, Media Research Center. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, and my best to Gaynors West out there in the Treasure Valley, and I expect to see one of them and her boyfriend sometime in the not too distant. I think about a month from now, maybe less.
Well, you can borrow them. I don't know if we're going to let you keep them.
Yeah, I going to school, so I think this is like a rental.
Take care, Dan.
Thanks, you too.
Our great friend Dan Gaynor joining us. All right, coming up next. Well, let's get to it quickly. You're right, Ray Amaya. R&R and Liberty Linda will get to you in 2 seconds. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's go to R&R. Good morning, R&R.
Morning, K. Millie. Well, I'm not real politically savvy, but I've been a trained professional observer for like 30 years of my life, and I think I know Brad Little has got a direct path to the governor of the state of Idaho. But here's my thought. Paulette Jordan is, from what I've observed, just vibrant and has a great entourage and support from the indigenous people up north. I'm just wondering, what's the possibility, or what's even the political and legal opportunity for her to have a position somewhere in the legislature if and when she doesn't get the governor, and what are her talking points? And I know she's huge on the horse world and gaming, but I would like to welcome her on the airwaves and see what she's got in plans, especially for the indigenous people and over at Fort Hall. And
here's something. I got an email from the state Democratic Party. They're having their convention in Caldwell, and I'm looking at the agenda. I don't even see Paulette Jordan on there. Now, maybe I missed something, but they've got the lieutenant governor nominee, the secretary of state nominee, but they don't have Paulette Jordan on there.
That's curious. Well, I'm an advocate of collaboration, and just like I said, it's just got youth and dynamic. I don't know. Just from what I saw, she was in the parade, and I see her. I just see her as having a lot to offer. And rather than go, head to head with Brad Little and go for the governor, it's just got to be some place for her, and bringing, the other thing you advocate sometime, and it's not far-fetched in my opinion, is let's annex the parts of Oregon and Idaho that are still salvageable before the commie libs, want to encroach and destroy it. One state I remember, I'm old enough to have been to Hayden Lake when the white supremacists and militants and all those people decided they were going to secede. So just to draw it to a close, Idaho's going to always be great, and it's here to make a stand against pinko commies.
That's right, R&R. Thank you. Traffic and weather together. And to Liberty Linda, thanks for your patience. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Yes, good morning, Kevin. Kevin, let's bring President Trump to Idaho. Kevin.
Let's make Idaho
Let's
great
send
again.
President Trump to Boise.
Let's make Idaho great again, yes.
I think so. Wouldn't that be wonderful if he came here?
Well, we're working on it, Liberty Linda.
Well, you've got me all worked up about it, and I think he should come here.
Now, Liberty Linda, just remember, because everybody will jump on our bandwagon, whether they're in state government or in the media, remember, it was this program, it was Ramona, it was you, it was me, it was the talkative one, Ray Amaya, that we are the first ones to invite him to the state of Idaho, and we publicly are going to go out on a limb and say we would like President Trump to visit us.
Well, Kevin, if anybody ever sees you working, you are the hardest working person I know. You put those debates together. You brought the people in, and it was an amazing experience. And so I just want to congratulate you for that. And I really do think he should come to this state. We're a conservative state overall, and we love him. We worked hard for him, and I think your idea of bringing him here is absolutely great. And Ramona's, too. Absolutely. I know. She said it. I heard her on the radio.
Well, the Dave & Buster's isn't big enough for the president, but it'd be a good one.
Right. BSU, I guess. That's the only place large enough. Anyway, did you see him last night?
In South Carolina, yeah.
Oh, wow. What an amazing person he is. He stood there I thought, for about an hour, and I actually saw young men standing behind him. They were moving from one leg to another. They were getting tired. And our president had such enthusiasm. I mean, it was marvelous to watch him. He could have gone on for another hour. Kevin, I'd like to know what vitamins he takes. 'Cause I'd like to take some myself.
All right, Liberty Linda, thank you.
Okay, well, you have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. God and Country Day continues here. Don't forget to see us tonight in Nampa. Coming up, Dale Reynolds will join us. We'll talk with him. We'll talk to Hank and Cindy. First, out to Washington, Capitol Hill, Fox News Radio's Rachel Sutherland. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
Boy, we were talking earlier to somebody from Washington. This whole issue of usually summertime is the downtime, but this immigration thing keeps going and going and going. And you've got the president last night in a state you're familiar with, South Carolina, in the upstate. What's the latest on immigration and the president's reaction and Congress's reaction?
Well, good morning. Yeah, the Trump administration says its zero tolerance policy is still in effect, but at the same time, Customs and Border Protection says that they're not handing over adult parents and guardians over for prosecution simply because it appears they're running out of space to keep families together there along the southern border. There's just not the room in detention facilities. It's such a big problem there. And so the White House is kicking it back to Congress, saying they want them to pass legislation expediently. However, they could vote on something tomorrow or Thursday, but it's looking very unhopeful for this. It takes about 20 Republicans to kill the legislation, and that will probably happen because there's enough of them who simply just don't want to vote for any immigration legislation because it smacks of amnesty to them. So they need Democratic support, and they probably won't get it because it includes, I believe, $25 billion for border wall funding. It also has E-Verify and a fix for DACA, but really Democrats just aren't particularly in a negotiating mood right now.
Boy, and then you still have the issue with the kids and the border and what's happening, and that cycle doesn't seem to end either.
Well, that was something that definitely upset a lot of Americans in seeing those children separated from their parents. We do understand that more than 500 children have been reunited with their parents and guardians, but there's still some 2,000 still in the custody of the Department of Health and Human Services. And so the question is, how do you get everyone back together? It seems like it could be kind of a lengthy process in some cases, depending on the status of the parents, where they are, whether they're still being detained or whether they've been deported.
And the whole idea of, since they aren't going to separate the kids anymore, it's almost the administration saying we have no choice but to go back to something similar to catch and release.
Oh, that's exactly right. That's what it is. Because if they don't have room in the detention facilities to hold people, there's an agreement from the 1990s that says you can only hold children and families 20 days. And so there you go. I mean, that's exactly what they're going back to, at least in the interim, is catch and release, even though the Trump administration says a zero tolerance policy remains in effect. I don't know if they can find more room somehow or figure out something else. But, yeah, right now, that's the situation.
Rachel, any solution to this, or is it just...
Well, if I had that answer, right, look, it just appears Republicans and Democrats have been scrapping about immigration for not just months, but years.
Yeah.
And they have not been able to come up with anything. So, I mean, not to be negative, but it's just that they haven't been able to. So the president even tweeted out, and he said different things on Twitter, but one of them in particular stood out was saying, look, wait until after the midterms because you guys can't get it together. So maybe that will be the case. Maybe a slightly different crowd will come in. I don't really foresee a great change on the political landscape after November. It could happen. I think some seats will flip, but I don't think it's going to be a red or a blue wave. So I don't know that you're going to see a big difference in the makeup of the House or Senate, and then you'll be stuck with the same situation.
Rachel, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, our friend Rachel Sutherland. Let's go to Dale Reynolds with God and Country. Dale, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin.
Boy, big day today. Of course, 52 years of God and Country in Nampa, Idaho. What can you give us an idea of the type of work that goes into pulling off this event?
Well, we start planning a year in advance, and it just takes a lot of effort and meetings and everybody pulling together to make this happen. And then, of course, a couple days out, it's game on for everybody, and trying to get everything done in production. And it's shaping up. We get real excited about it, and it's going to be a great show.
Now, we have a lot of new people moving into the Treasure Valley. Maybe they found us on 107.5 FM or 580 AM. Could you give us, Dale, again, 52 years here in the Treasure Valley, but a lot of people may not know what God and Country is and whether or not they can go for free.
Yeah, so the show is free to everyone. And what we do is we have a military piece of the show, and we honor our military and a patriotic event. And then we have a speaker, and we have musical guests, and the whole inside the Idaho Center. They can come. The gates open at 4 p.m., and it's free to everyone. There'll be food vendors. There's booths from different businesses around the valley that they can visit while they're in there. A lot of things for the family to do. And then we'll have fireworks at around 10:30, and that's a free show as well. And we're doing 16 minutes of fireworks this year, so it's going to be a really awesome 16 continuous minutes of fireworks. So it's going to be a really awesome show.
Oh, and here's what a lot of folks may or may not know. They need to get there early. And you have people that are, they camp out in the Walmart parking lot. They go up on the hill because these fireworks are pretty big.
They are. Yeah, they really are. And they shoot those off from the CWI facilities right here behind the Idaho Center. And it's a real up-close and personal experience. And like you said, a lot of people park all around the venue, but they can come into this bowl. We'll have 8,000 to 10,000 people in here, and they can watch from the amphitheater. And it's a fantastic place to bring your lawn chairs and watch.
Well, and you honor the military. We've got the military band. We've got Unspoken. We've got Nick. Got Maddie. An eclectic round of entertainment this evening.
For sure. Yeah, it's going to be a little something for everybody. The Army Band is new to us this year, and they bring a pretty exciting set to the show. They're going to kick it off. And then we've got Maddie, of course, and then Nick is a fantastic speaker. We're looking forward to that. And, of course, Unspoken is our headlining artist, and they are fantastic as well.
Well, Dale, anything else you want to share with us today?
I think just come early, and the like I said, gates at 4. And get you a good seat in the amphitheater here. Bring your lawn chair and blanket if you want. And bring some mosquito spray. Last night when I was out here setting up, the mosquitoes were pretty bad.
Dale, thank you. You take care.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. God and Country tonight in Nampa. Gates open at 4 o'clock at the Idaho Center. We've got details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Go to Facebook, 52nd Annual Treasure Valley God and Country Show. It's a show about God and country. That's how you describe it. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Last night, the president was in South Carolina, and he wanted to talk a little bit about civility and Maxine Waters.
Maxine Waters, do you believe her?
Maxine Waters is not backing down.
I don't cry about protests. People protest me all the time. People come to my district office. That's their right. The only time I have anything to say about protests is when they threaten to kill me. Then I turn that in. But otherwise, protest is the American way.
Right. And again, remember, Maxine Waters urging people to go after Trump staffers, supporters, and the president himself.
You really don't know the Bible. God is on our side. On the side of the children. On the side of what's right. On the side of what's honorable. On the side of understanding that if we can't protect the children, we can't protect anybody. You have members of your cabinet that are being booed out of restaurants. Who have protesters taking up at their house, who's saying no peace, no sleep. No peace, no sleep.
There we have it. Gotta love Maxine Waters, 580-5436. And if you're having trouble waking up this morning, here's a classic, a new school classic based on an old spin, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
I do not believe that President Trump would implement this at the Canadian border and do this to white children.
Fair and balanced. Hank in Boise. Good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Hank.
Good morning. I might comment on the idea of having Trump over at Boise State Stadium over there. I'll guarantee you that the administration will charge extra for the event. And not only that, but there will be the faculty and the certain elements of the student radicals out there will organize protests and disruptions at that, because basically you're hurling an insult to the heart of Democrat rule in Boise. You know, this is one of the pillars of Peter's rule in Boise and the Democrats, and this would be an extreme insult to them. I might point out that when the Republicans got the Taco Bell Arena for the caucuses in 2000, they were charged $15,000. When the Democrats held a caucus at the Taco Bell Arena, they were charged nothing. This is an administration that is very pro the Democrat all the way through, from the faculty to the administration of Boise State, and this would be something that they will not take lying down. I guarantee you that.
Well, you know, and remember, old Dr. Custer, he retreated a little when he went after Congressman Labrador, when he thought that the congressman would be the governor.
Yes, he did, and because there's a lot of skeletons. There's a lot of skeletons out there. That's the reason why I wasn't necessarily keen on Brad Little becoming governor, because I don't think Brad's going to do anything about it. But there are a lot of skeletons out there in the Boise State that needs to be cleaned out. Well, Labrador was the only one that was willing to do it. I don't see Brad stirring that hornet's nest out there, because there's a lot of BS out there that needs to be cleaned out. After all, the old saying about Boise State, the BS is before you.
All right, Hank, thank you for the call. More calls next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Cindy in Caldwell, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. I just want to give a shout out to my friend David Ferdinand. That is a great, it's like a magazine insert that was in the paper on God and Country. And, true to form, and talking with Christy Perry. She's got a beautiful picture in there because these people are public servants, and when they say they're supporting God and country, you know, I remember what she said to me a while back, that no matter what happens with the election, Cindy, I know it's in the hands of God. And she's got a beautiful picture in there. I also know because I've worked to ask people to support, and they pay big money for these, even a little picture of them, and a great picture of Debbie Kling as Nampa's mayor, who came over to the your Boise Rescue Mission event. So beautiful pictures in there, but not only that, thank you, Kevin. I saw your picture that you chose to put our nation's flag behind you in that red, white, and blue. So it is a great event. I have supported that for years and going around for the group at one point getting all kinds of contributions. But these people, every ad and every person that is in that paper, they're paying the money to support the God and country, and hopefully people support their businesses. And great place for kids to go over. I have two choices to be there tonight with two events going on, so we'll see what happens. But I just wanted to mention the kids will have a great time. There are over 14 booths out there, and I'm not going to speak to the vitriolic hatred of Maxine Waters. We seem to have lost the rule of law, and a word that I couldn't even define America today for. The word is virtue. And you just had a clip on about children that it was a news clip that this is the hypocrisy of the left with these children. It just said 6 children were separated yesterday by a health and welfare because, and their parents are facing for endangerment to children, felony injury to children, which is up to 10 years. Children were found in an environment that wasn't healthy, because I won't go into what they were smelling and seeing. But imagine these parents transporting, or whoever they were, their children across the state. Seriously, I'm saying across Mexico. So the tragedy in America today is, as Donald Trump's son yesterday spoke on Sean Hannity, is that not only have we lost the rule of law, but I will say very different from the 60s, when even Donald Trump's son's little girl at 4 years old is threatened by a media person, and little Chloe is only 4. So it is very different out there, the vitriolic hatred. And he also spoke to, when you gin this up with unstable people, I'm a psych nurse, just like Donald Trump's son said, look what happened at a baseball game with Steve Scully. So thank you for being at the opposite of all this. And yes, I do know, maybe see you, because I'm on the prayer team over there, that God is in charge. He is in charge, and he is sovereign. So thanks, Kevin, for supporting God and country.
Thank you, Cindy. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. And quickly to Pete in Mountain Home. Pete, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Morning, Kevin. I have a thought for people during this upcoming election. Everyone who gets a chance to talk to a Democrat candidate here in Idaho should say Maxine Waters has called for harassing and attacking members of Trump's cabinet and other people who work for Trump. Are you willing to denounce her, or do you support her?
Oh, that's a great point, Pete.
And that's the choice they give Republicans. Will you denounce so-and-so? So I want them all to stand up there and say whether or not they will denounce her. And watch them squirm.
Well, maybe we should go to their convention and ask. You and I should just make a motion to the chairman.
They wouldn't let us in, would they? During our Make America Great Again ad.
That's right. I guess we'd have to, how should I put that? We would have to, we'd have to be Democrats to get in, I guess.
Yeah, get a Bernie Sanders cap or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's just a thought. Yeah, I think everybody that gets a chance to ask them that should ask them that.
All right, brother. Take care, Pete.
You too, Kevin.
Bye-bye. Tom Munz, hang on. It's going to be a while, but we'd love to hear from you next. Kevin Miller, we're just getting started. Won't you join us? KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.